First of all, I'd like to thank you all for being here tonight. In case anybody doesn't know, my name is Stuart Cahoon. I'm married to Paula, sitting down here in the second row. And together we have two children, Katie and Corey. I'm also a die-hard Crusaders fan. Up the can. I attend New Generation Family Church just round the corner there in Argyll Business Centre. And I'm going to tell you how I got my journey through a happy childhood, rebellious teenage years, violent years of adulthood, right up to the middle-aged man I am now, trying to serve God. And how God was always there. I just never seen him, or maybe he didn't want to see him. Many years ago, on Friday the 7th of July, I came into the world. I was a big baby, well over 10 pound. Nothing's changed really. But was born with spina bifida. Now there are three types of spina bifida. I had the worst type, the worst form. Back then, they could operate on you to try and make a bad thing a little bit better. But you had to be over 10 pound to get this operation done. It had to be done in the first few days. If you weren't round about that weight, you couldn't get it done. Any baby smaller just wouldn't survive, which meant a lifetime in a wheelchair and possibly brain damage. My mother used to tell me when I was growing up, I was a walking miracle. God had stepped in, prayers were said and candles were lit in churches and chapels all over the country by people whose children were in the same ward and suffering from the same deformity. But by some miraculous way, my operation was a big success. In my young years, they told my mum and dad I wouldn't walk until I was 5 years old. His bladder and bowels won't work right. He'll need nappies or food bag, and he'll need braces on his legs. The kind you see young Forrest Gump has on in the movie where he's teaching Elvis to dance. Them kind of things. But I had to go back to hospital every 3 to 6 months anyway. By the age of 3, my mummy and daddy had me walking, potty trained. No nappies, no bag, no braces. And again, doctors said, he's a walking miracle. By the time I turned 4, the troubles had already started in our wee small land. My parents decided to take me and my brother away to Australia to live. So we emigrated over there. And we stayed in Australia for 3 years. But we returned because my mother suffered badly from homesickness. So, like many here, we went through the troubles. We lived with them and went through them. My teen years, and I'm off to the boys' model school. Oh dear. Let's just say, if I knew how to plant a car bomb, that school wouldn't exist. It just wouldn't be there. From first year to fourth year, I was suspended numerous times and expelled twice. And on the second expulsion, halfway through fourth year, they just turned around and says, stay in the one class, eat your break in the one class, eat your dinner in the one class, don't go out of that class. So that was me for the last 6 months. I hated it from day one until the day at the age of 15, 1 May, I was able to walk out the gates for the last time. No exams, no GCSEs, no nothing. I left on a Wednesday and I started work on a Monday. So all was going well. During this time, the violence continued, and I remember as a teenage skinhead, DM boots, jeans, listening to madness on the radio, not much has changed, thinking, my people need to start bringing it to the IRA because the bombings and shootings were continuing, and this is the way my thought was going at that time. And one massacre that stuck in my head always was the Darkley Church massacre. It was round about that time that I started saying to myself, there can't be a God. There's no way. How could God let his own people be killed like that? People worshipping in God's house, struck down the hail of bullets. And right up until about 2 years ago, just before I got saved, that was my stance. There was no God. So my life goes on a few years, and by this time, I would go out drinking, whenever I could afford it. And I first got drunk when I was 13 on a bottle of Pimm's. From around 15, I was arrested on a regular basis. Fighting was on most charge sheets. My mother and father stayed married until they died, so there was no broken home to blame for all this drinking and fighting. My father used to say to me, "You have a drink problem, son?" And I used to say, "You're right, Dad, I've only one mouth." I never learned to drive until I was in my 30s because it would have interfered with my drinking. And it was on one of these binges, I think Stevie Godfrey was with me, on one of these binges, and I say binges because we only stopped drinking on a Wednesday. Every other day we had a drink. It was on one of these binges that I met this pretty young barmaid in the Rangers called Paula. And I says to myself, "This is brilliant. Shut up, a girl. Not miss a pint. Fantastic." Okay, it was going great. But after a while, like most things, we fell in love. And that's when my binge drinking stopped. Paula became pregnant. We had Katie. Paula returned to work, and I became a house daddy. And I knew every child's TV theme, from JoJo Circus to Burn the Big Blue House. Knew them all. And I say to myself sometimes, did God put Paula in that bar to stop me from drinking myself to death? Now, I'll say a few things about my paramilitary years. For any young men in here who think it's brilliant and all that there, it's not a brilliant life. You see these mafia films like Goodfellas and they're all sitting there having fun, making money. It's not a life like that. It's a life of being told to be at a certain place at a certain time, no matter what. If it's your ma's birthday, doesn't matter. If it's your mother's anniversary, doesn't matter. Wife's birthday, who cares? You be there, or else you'll suffer a baseball bat or a bullet in the leg. It's also the life where you'll be sitting in a company having a drink with all your mates, well, your so-called mates. The next day, one of their mates will drop a door and say, "Well, you have to come with us and pick an entry." They get shot. That's the life of a paramilitary. Let me see. On this subject, I've only a few things to say. I was never forced to join the paramilitaries like many people were. In fact, I went looking them. I voted no in the Good Friday Agreement. When the loyalist ceasefire happened, I was raging. I wanted the violence to continue. I joined B Company Woodville UVF. That was my homeland, the Woodville. And it was just a violent life. A violent life. The things I'd done over those years are between me and God on Judgment Day. And that's all I'll say about that. I was full of hatred. And I'm ashamed to say I was full of hatred for any Catholic, man, woman, or child. It didn't matter to me. I was a bit like Saul of Tarsus. I was a zealot from a culture. In Timothy 1:15, it says, "Christ Jesus came into the world to save sinners, for whom I am the worst." I was in the category of sinners. I was there. Hatred and anger, part of my daily life. I always had a quick temper, which sometimes made me a very violent man. For anything or anyone that got in my way, I had no empathy, no remorse, no nothing. Between 2009 and 2010, I lost my father to cancer. I lost my best friend, James Zealot, to suicide. And I lost my mother to complications brought on by dementia. On each occasion, I never shed a tear. My heart was like a stone. It was like 6-inch steel doors. Couldn't be penetrated. People used to say to me, "You're not right in the head. You need to go and see a grief counsellor. There's something not right there." But I put it down to having 2 young kids. Looking after them all the time, I had no time to grieve. Also around this time, our son, Corey, wasn't talking. And Paula blamed it on me, saying, "You're letting him watch Shaun the Sheep. Nobody talks in Shaun the Sheep." So I got to blame that. In fact, Corey wasn't getting on like any other child. He would not bond with me at all. We didn't know it then, But it ended up Corey was artistic. I think I got my first kiss off him when he was about 5 years old. And this was another time I was convinced that God didn't exist. I was into astronomy. I used to have a big 8-inch telescope. And I could easily see the Andromeda Galaxy, 2.5 million light years away. For anybody who doesn't know, that means when you look through that eyepiece and the light hits your eye, that light's 2.5 million years old. But I couldn't find heaven. Now, I think heaven isn't seen by the living. It's only seen by those who have given their lives to God and have moved on from this life. They're the ones that see it. Now, Corey never leaves me. He's always making prank phone calls, doing funny impressions. I know every character in Family Guy and American Dad and Rick and Morty, and we're very seldom apart. Now, a few years ago, Paul and Katie decided they were going to go to a church play. I think we called this play, what was it? Heaven's Gates and Hell's Flames. So they go to this play. And Katie comes running into the house afterwards, shouting like a mad woman, "Daddy, Daddy, Daddy, Mommy got saved." And then comes Paula, gurning her eyes out. My first words were, "You're all right, calm down. You're okay, don't worry about it. But don't preach to me about Jesus." I didn't need it. But as you can see, she never listens to me anyway. I didn't do well in things in general. Sports were out the window. Bad leg, bad back. Though I did try rugby at school one time, and I was quite good at it. And then my dad found out and hit the roof. So that was that, knocking the head. I'm dyslexic. A term that was never used when I went to school. You were just told that you weren't capable of learning. You were tossed into the lowest class that had a teacher that could control you. In other words, a teacher that could give you a good beating and calm you down. That's the way it was. But I taught myself to read. Still to this day, I can barely subtract and division. That's just a word. Nothing else. I'm not good with people. Still to this day, I don't get on with people. I find it difficult communicating, so I don't get out of my way to talk to people. I don't do small talk. I hate talking on the phone. I have a limp, suffer chronic back pain, and the only thing I was good at was singing. From about 10 years old, my mum and dad would have took me down to the First and Last in Malale, and I had a song with a wee group down there. So, in my early 20s, I was asked to join a group. We called the group Young Guns. We travelled all over Northern Ireland and mainland Britain. Some journeys, as Stevie can tell you, will live in me forever because nothing ever went right. An example is one time we were on the road from Stranraer to Ayr, and I'm sitting in the back seat and he hears a sound going, what's that noise? 5 minutes down the road, there's the back wheel going in front of the car, down the road, on its way down. Then another time, we had a leak in a tube that goes into the radiator. We're sitting waiting on the Stranraer boat to get on it. The water's pumping out everywhere. So we found an old cider bottle. We filled it up with water. And we fixed this tube with blue tack and duct tape. We travelled to Edinburgh and Glasgow and back to Belfast. And that's how we fixed it. We sang pop songs. But the main thing that we done was we sang UVF songs. We were a bit like a Protestant Wolf Tones. We could get the loyalist full mode. We'd be in mainland once or twice a month, Liverpool, Blackpool, Sunderland, Scotland, all over the place. While in police custody in Scotland one time, a detective reckoned we earned the UVF between £30,000 and £50,000 a year. This became normal, being arrested as you went over to Scotland and England and all that there. We once even had an armed response unit arrest us in Stranraer as hundreds of people waiting on the boat looked on in shock. As the troubles ended, so did the group. But I carried on solo, singing the UVF songs and all that there. And the Christmas before lockdown, Christmas 2019, I was asked would I like to help New Generation Family Church Nativity play. with the music. And for anybody that knows, see if you're in with a crowd of Christians, it's really difficult not to curse. So I had myself in the wee corner with a mixing desk and hit this wee knob here and hit this wee knob there out of the road. But I must admit, I did really enjoy it. Let me see. Paula would put on Christian songs on the wee Google Hub in the house. Once she was out, I would have the Killers on and Guns N' Roses and Madness and all that there. Then one day, I found this Christian bluegrass group called Southern Gospel Revival. And I had the house tortured with it. Loved it. Had the whole house tortured. Katie still hates it this very day. Then I started finding artists like Zach Williams and Crowder. First lockdown happens and everywhere's closed. But beforehand, Paul had bought me a book. I can't remember the title of it, but it was like either God and Science or Science and God. Something like that there anyway. But this book blew my mind. Things like if the oxygen and nitrogen mixture in our air was 1% different, you wouldn't be able to breathe it. You would die. Or things like if the sun was 20 degrees further away, 20 degrees closer, you wouldn't be able to survive on this planet. Nothing would be able to survive. But too warm or too cold. And I was saying to myself, is that just coincidence? Is it just luck? Now, for anyone that knows me, if I get into something like that, I really get into it. I feed off it. It's like a release from stress. I need to know more about it. So I started looking more things up. And I came to the conclusion that these things can't be chance. They had been made this way. Because even a cat can't be that lucky. Now, a few months later, I say to Paula, I need you to buy me a Bible. Genesis 1:1 says, in the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth. And I was starting to think, that's the truth. It was created by God. The trees, the water, the creatures, night, day, stars, planets, all created. Now I'm sure Paula, who works in the Open Door Cafe down below Agnes Street, or wee church cafe, near broke her neck getting to work to say, oh, he wants a Bible, oh, God's working on him and all that there. And she was away like a shot. So, lockdown ends, believe it or not, on the 12th of July, which was a Sunday, but usually if it had been any other day, I'd have been up and down the Shankle singing in every pub in East Belfast and all that there. But this 12th of July, the church opened its doors and I decided, I'll go with Paula. Me and the kids will go. Katie says, I'm not going. So me and the wee lad went. Now, some people didn't return to the church for fear of COVID. I don't know, something like that. Some of the worship team didn't return. So once again, I found myself helping with the music and putting songs on the laptop for the worship team, the remaining worship team. Paul's here, and Lieutenant Gillian's Paul's here. So I ended up doing that. But after that, I would have went to a pub. After church, I got dropped off at the pub. But then I gradually found myself going to a pub less and less. I think it's called under conviction. I was fighting with myself and maybe the devil and all the years of sin. A change of lifestyle was coming and I didn't know what to do or if I wanted it. So like all men around about my age, I kept it to myself and just didn't talk about it. I didn't want to lose my friends who I drank with for many years. Loved doing a wee bet and all things like that there. I was a full member of the Mountain View Club in Enfield Street. My father was a founding member of the Mountain View Club. And there's people that would give their right arm to be a member of the Mountain View Club. And I was going to have to give all this up. Then Mary Warden, sitting down there, came to me one day and says to me, Stuart, I have a word of scripture for you. Proverbs 3, 5, and 6. Trust in the Lord with all your heart and lean not on your own understanding. In all your ways submit to him and he will make your path straight. By the start of September that year, I knew where God was leading me. When I came to church, I had a feeling like a voice inside and it was saying to me, this is where you should be. You shouldn't be in the pub. You should be here. come sing for God and not for God in Ulster. So on Saturday the 5th of September, I phoned my friends and I says to them, tomorrow I'm going to get saved. I'm going to give my life to the Lord. And I can honestly say, not one of them tried to talk me out of it. They all wished me the best, and that was it. On the 6th of September 2020, Sunday morning, I said to Pastor Davy John Martin, sitting over there, I need to get saved. And he put me in this office, and as they say, the rest is history. Now, Katie at first, she wasn't pleased. She just couldn't hack it. And I think it was because she didn't get to tell everybody. No way, we girls are on me, I got saved now. Because her mother and told her first. Now, when Paula was saved, she said she felt a great relief. A massive burden had been lifted off her shoulders. And I went to a testimony before I got saved in Living Hope Church of a young fella who'd been torn apart by drugs. And once he was saved, he had a complete peace around him. I had none of these. I felt normal. But the voice was still there. The voice was still there saying to me, you have now reached your destination, the place where you should have been a long time ago. I knew my battle with myself was over, and I'd given my life to God and Christ and was ready for the ups and downs that lay ahead, because there are ups and downs. Just over 2 years later, I stand here tonight and tell you my story. How God was always there, and I didn't believe it. Has it been easy? No. But with people like Paula, Davy John and Maureen and Lauren, the whole congregation, friends who are Christians, every day is a good day. Do I still let a little experience now and again? Yes. When I hit my finger with a hammer in the shed, something like that, I'm sorry to say, one still comes out now and again. Do I still want to beat someone with a baseball bat and burn their car? Occasionally. But I know with the good Lord's help, those days are behind me. Do I still dislike Linfield? Yes, that will never change. Nothing can be done about that. Being saved is being born again. I'm still an infant in this new life, trying to find my feet. I take baby steps every day, just like I did all those years ago. I'm learning to walk the path that God has chosen for me. I don't tell people when you're saved, everything changes overnight, because it doesn't. I've asked God into my life, and I feel I'm becoming a better man, a better husband, a better father, and hopefully a better person all around. I still struggle to have conversation with people I don't really know, but I try my best. I feel the stone around my heart is slowly being chipped away. And it's because God's help I'm able to say friend to someone I once called foe. It's because God walks beside me. I can think of my parents and my friends that have died over the years and shed a quiet tear when I'm alone. It's with God's help and the help of the greater church family, like my own church, like this church, their congregations where I know I have friends that are also like a family to me, that I can stand here tonight and speak openly to you all. I found a quote the other day, and I think it sums up church largely. Church is a hospital for sinners, not a museum for saints. Remember, church is just a building where people come to join as a family and pray and meet friends and worship. They can be built and they can be destroyed, but God is everywhere. Jesus said, split a piece of wood and I am there. Lift up a stone and there you will find me. U2 wrote the lyrics to the song on the Joshua Tree album, which was actually meant to be a gospel song at the start. And the lyrics go like this. I have run, I have crawled, I have scaled these city walls only to be with you, but I still haven't found what I'm looking for. Well, I can stand here tonight in all honesty and tell you I have found what I was looking for. A friend in God, a wife and children that love me, and a church family that I can call my own. God bless you all, and thank you for listening to me.